So, hey guys, it's time for more late night Michie audio, and it's a story time because quite a few people have actually asked for me to do the story time where I mentioned in my wedding nitty gritty info and blah 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 blah, where I was talking about how the wedding day was almost a disaster and almost ruined, and a lot of people actually asked about that, and I feel like this one's better to do calm because it's really irritating what we had to go through. And I later learned that weddings are stressful. Now, granted, this was back in 2018. I know a lot of people are doing like Zoom weddings and different weddings and things now to, make up for Sick Spiky Round Boy. And hopefully I don't sound too odd because, again, it's really late at night and my husband has work early and I just feel like doing the audio now. And I also think it's better doing it when it's late and I have to be more like subdued so that way I don't like get myself overly angry and stuff. So anyway, I'm doing that tangent. This is a story time. Let's get into it. So, for if you guys are newer here, you would know that at the end of 2018, before my wedding, my husband and I were kicked out of our living situation. So that was very complicated. Also, I do want to bring this up because quite a few people have asked this in the past. We didn't just like mooch with our family members. I know it sounds odd, but we both had jobs. We both paid rent, utilities, and our own bills. So it wasn't like we were living somewhere rent free. I feel I really need to emphasize that because if we were just living somewhere rent free, we would have been able to find a place a lot sooner because we would have been able to save our money because, capitalism. Anyway, so I just want to get that out there real quick so people can try to understand. So we actually made a GoFundMe for the wedding because I've talked about this before. I didn't want to live in a what if scenario. I wanted to at least attempt it because we didn't know if we were even going to have the wedding we wanted. Because, as I've said in my previous videos and in the past, while there is nothing wrong with backyard weddings and somebody knows somebody's got a property kind of weddings, those are great. If those work great for you, that's great. Due to certain situations and certain stripes within both of our families at the time, it just wasn't going to work. It was going to cause way more stress than possible. So we told ourselves, well, the wedding day's picked either way. So even if we don't get the wedding we want, we'll still get married at a courthouse. It's not a big deal. We've been together for 10 years because we did get married on our 10-year together. Not our actual 10-year anniversary. Our anniversary is technically in November, but I don't know if I talked about that in the other video, but I'll get into that right now. So my husband and I both love fall, both love Halloween, both love spooky times. And ironically enough, when we started dating, neither of us knew both of our birthdays were in November. So our first date technically was in November. So we joked around for, the past 10 years that November was the month that we were always broke because it was both of our birthdays and Thanksgiving and our anniversary, and it was like that for the longest time. So we were thinking, well, let's knock something out of November. So we picked October, and we picked October 22nd for our anniversary because in the future, when we eventually have kids or we adopt kids or whatever, the universe holds, we wanted to make sure that they could enjoy Halloween and we can still enjoy our, anniversary. And I know a lot of people who get married on Halloween or Samhain and they love it, they don't regret it. But I know for a fact I would like to go out on my anniversary. I grew up in a household where my parents did stuff on their anniversary, even if it's not big. And I don't think that's fair to kids if you want to do that and take away from kids. I feel like Halloween, especially if you have young kids, is really, really important to them. Anyway, so we got into that. So a lot of stuff happened, a lot of drama, but when you get married and you have a wedding in a venue, and because of the kind, generous people who donated the GoFundMe, we didn't hit the goal for the GoFundMe, but the GoFundMe made a lot of family members, you know, strap up pretty much. And I know it sounds terrible, but it's something that always irritated me because it would have been one thing if they obviously didn't have the money or they didn't want to spend the money. That's fine. Again, it's the modern age. People don't need a wedding. I get it. But the fact that, again, you amazing guys donated to it, and exact words that were told to both my husband and I were like, well, if random strangers are going to help you out, I guess we should too. Which is something that I've always just, put a little tack in the family issues bulletin board, but no family's perfect. And because of that, we were able to fully fund our wedding and have the dream wedding that we love, and it ended up being perfect, but it almost wasn't. That's the point of this. So everything had been prepaid for. We had everything done. Everything was set in stone. People RSVP'd. We were good to go. And then we were kicked out. And it was such a hard time because everything was paid for. Everything was good to go. We had everything set. People's plane tickets were made. And we were kind of really, really bloody depressed. And there's no way around it. We were extremely depressed because we're like, great, we're going to get married and then have no idea where we're going to be living, because we were lucky. And we were able to have family that let us stay with them when we were trying to get back on our feet, because, being uprooted with only a few days to find a place to live is not easy. And I'm not saying it's not. And I am saying we are very lucky that we were able to have a place to stay and family members that helped us out. So I'm extremely grateful for that, but I need to emphasize that. So it was a very stressful time. My husband, also within that same time period, a month before our wedding, had just started a new job. And it's so funny. His first day was in like the first week of October. And that was when we moved in and we were looking for places and we were trying to get qualified. And before he got the okay for his new job, we didn't make enough to qualify because the state I live in is really stupid. So even though we both made more than the poverty line in California standards at the time, it still wasn't enough to, get a basic apartment or rent anywhere, because they're like, well, you've never had a renter's agreement in other places, because we were renting with family, so we didn't have contracts made. Fun fact, guys, if you are renting with family, even if they're family and they're great, try to get a contract written up and done, because that'll help you a lot when you're trying to find apartments if you couldn't find a cosigner. So we were looking for places, and we were panicking because we were like, oh, what's happening? But we got our apartment, and that's the apartment we live in today. And so we got into the apartment, and we moved in the weekend, literally the weekend before my husband started his new job. And then within starting his new job, 2 weeks from there, no, 2.5 weeks from there, dun, was the wedding day. And we were so stressed and so panicked because, well, when you're going through all of that, it really didn't hit until we said our vows that, like, oh my God, this is our wedding day. And even after that, it wasn't until we did our staycation, because we were newlyweds and completely broke. We were just staying home and just existing, and we were like, oh my God, this is all real. This is all happening. We really are married. Oh my God, this is our place. And great time. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. So I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to do my hair and makeup. I thought that was an exaggeration. I was very, very wrong. My mother was very nice, and she was able to find a makeup artist that was able to do the makeup for everybody in the wedding, but she also did my hair. That was where we're getting to the first little chink in the chain. When we were getting our hair and makeup done, my mother was promised that we were going to get a hair and makeup person for every one of my bridesmaids. And I had 4 bridesmaids. That's a lot of bridesmaids, I know. I had 1 male bridesmaid, but he didn't have to worry about getting, done up. He was already pretty as it was. But, so, all of a sudden, we get to the venue, we're ready to go, and it's one lady in a makeup case. And we were like, hey, where's your team? And she's like, oh, it's just me. So I then call my mom. I'm like, hey, are we going to have enough time? Because it's one lady. And my mom's like, no, it's a whole team. I'm like, nope, it's one lady. And then I hear the lady's cell phone go off, talk to my mom, and she starts talking to my mom's like, oh, no, it's always just been me. Nope, no, read your contract. It's just me. You should have read your contract. And I'm like, oh, this isn't a good sign. So we were lucky enough that we ate breakfast before we went there, because I didn't end up eating until, I think, right after... No, not even right after the ceremony. I had been so hungry because some family members that were already kind of pieces of POSs, I need to to stop myself there, were kind of not good people, had told us, even after doing some very terrible things to my husband and I, that they're like, hey, don't worry, we know we didn't put any money into your wedding. We know we didn't help you in any way, shape, or form. But, and we've only caused you more stress because even though it's your wedding, we need to make it our day. Don't worry, we'll bring lunch for the groomsmen and the bridal party. And we were like, that's great. We would love that. So it's literally the least you could do, because they also didn't get us a wedding present. Literally the least they could do. So, my bridesmaids are all getting ready. I got my hair in curlers. We're getting set up. We're having fun. We're relaxing. I'm like, going over my vows in my head and all that stuff. And we're all starving. We're all starving. Cody's texting me. Him and his bros are starving because on top of them getting ready, they had to also decorate. We had to decorate the day of the wedding. That's how the venue worked. Was we had it for 24 hours, and we had to get everything in and out within those 24 hours. That was it. And so once they were all done and they were ready, they're like, "Hey, where's the food?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's your family." And his family wasn't picking up the phone. So I had to call. So hairs and curlers. My friends are getting their makeup done. My friends are getting their hair done. We're getting ready to go. And I call them. We're like, "Hey, where's lunch and the food?" And they're like, "Oh, why are you asking us? We're running late." And we're like, "You said you'd bring lunch for everybody." "We never said that." Yes, you did. And then I sent them screenshots of their text messages, and they're like, "Oh, well, someone else must have texted you that because we're not bringing anything. In fact, we're running late." And I'm like, "Of course. Of course you are. Why wouldn't you?" So my one male bridesmaid, oh, God bless this man, he was a lifesaver, and he's like, "Oh, hold on, I got it." And he went to a Stater Brothers, and he picked up a bunch of sandwiches for like everybody. Went to the groomsmen, gave him a bunch of food, came to us. What sucked is I had just gotten my makeup done. And the lady was now doing my hair, and she's like, "She can't eat." And I'm like, "I haven't eaten since 4 a.m. and now it is almost 2 p.m. We were really cutting it to the actual ceremony point. And I honestly, though, one more thing. Hair and makeup artists, I give you so much credit, but for my wedding day, I genuinely didn't realize how much time goes into hair and makeup. Like, truly, I've always been, like, pretty basic. No wonder you guys charge so much because, I looked beautiful. So I'm not saying I didn't. She did an amazing job. And it was my mom's fault. While I love her, she should have read the contract to see that it wasn't a group of people and it was a lady. Anyway, that's not the point. So, my friend, like, rips off little pieces of food and starts, like, bird feeding me. And I had to eat it with my teeth because I couldn't let my lips touch because my makeup had just been done. So we're getting things done. And the photographer comes in and she's like, "Hey, just did the groomsmen. Why are you still getting ready?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, why am I still getting ready?" And she's like, "Well, we got to do your photos right now because your ceremony is going to happen in like anywhere between 30 or 40 minutes. And I'm like, "What? I'm not done." Like, my hair was not done. I was not dressed. My friends were still getting their hair, still doing their hair. And we were like, my parents had my shoes and my flowers because I had everything else. Because I stayed the night with my bridesmaids because my husband and I felt, well, it's old-fashioned, and we're very much not old-fashioned. We didn't want to see each other 24 hours before the wedding, so we didn't stay the night. So I stayed with my bridesmaids, and he stayed with his groomsmen. So we were freaking out, and my parents, so this is why I love my parents, but they were not saints either. So I'm calling my mom, and I'm frantic. I'm like, "Hey, Mom, where are you? I need my shoes and my flowers." My mom's like, "Oh, well, the ceremony's not for 30, 40 minutes. And I'm like, "Please tell me you've left," because my parents live around 20 to 30 minutes away from the venue. And my mom's like, "Oh, well, your dad left." And I'm like, "You have my flowers and my shoes." And my mother was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Mom, I need to take photos now. I'm getting married in less than an hour." And I was getting very angry. And I said, I love my mom again. I know it sounds bad, especially after saying that she paid for the makeup artist, but I was really angry because while I love my mother, she's always been bad about time. My mother has always been a person who's notoriously late, but she's also a person that's like, "Well, it takes exactly X, Y, and Z to get there, and I'll be there in 15 minutes, shows up 45 minutes late because, traffic." And even if, theoretically, with no traffic, yeah, it takes that amount of time. Usually, especially in California, with traffic, that's not how the world works. So I called my dad. I was literally about to cry all my makeup off because I was like, I'm not going to have shoes. I'm not going to have flowers for my wedding. And my dad was like, "Don't worry, I'll fix it. I'll meet your mom halfway." And so he met my mom halfway, and my dad did save the day for my shoes and my flowers for everybody. So we finished getting ready, and my photographer actually took a bunch of pictures of me getting ready. If my editing software isn't stupid, I'll do a quick collage on screen of literally most of my photos is us just getting ready because we were so out of time. And so after that, we had gotten everything. I got to take photos with my father. I was very sad I wasn't able to take a lot of photos with my mom because my mom was late. But my baby brother had also called me, and he's like, hey, sorry, we might be late to the ceremony. And I was like, again, about to cry. I'm like, oh, why? You've known when it was 4 hours. You've known where the venue was for months. You've known everything. And he's like, oh, well, me and my girlfriend, we stopped off and we got some lunch before we came out because we were hungry. And I'm like, it's it's my wedding day. It's not like it's anything important or anything. It's not like I'm marrying my high school sweetheart that I've been with for 10 years. And, we had been through so much stuff literally leading up to my wedding. Didn't matter. And I know it sounds like I have resentment for it still today, and it's because I do. And I love my family. I've forgiven them. But you don't forget. It's one of those key things with being an adult. You need to learn to forgive people unless they have seriously hurt you. Because in the grand scheme of things, while these did hurt my feelings on my wedding day, they were not as big as some people and some wedding horror stories that I've looked into and people have said. So it's one of those still stings a little bit, but I acknowledge as an adult there's a lot worse things, and I shouldn't hold a grudge like that. So, a little sour memory, but still there. And so, we got everything done. We were good to go. And then, what ends up happening, but we end up getting everything. We're getting ready to go. And I hear the music cue. And I started tearing up. And my dad was there. And my dad really was my rock. And fun fact, I walked down the aisle to his theme from Undertale because I'm trash and my husband's trash. And the second I saw him, it's like all the movies and cliched silly things say, I ignored everybody. Everything washed away and everything seemed great. We messed up our vows twice, and that was even more fun. We did in fact do a hand fasting for the pagan occult Wiccas out there. You know what a hand fasting is. And we had a great time. Our ceremony lasted about 30-40 minutes, if that. We weren't that long. And then me and Cody had to take our pictures. And that was where a lot of fun stuff happened. And we started having a lot of fun. And it started making up for all the terrible stuff that had happened earlier in the morning and all the other things that had happened. And everybody had a great time. And I also learned at your wedding, don't expect to eat or drink, because every time I set my drink down, somebody took my drink away from me, and I was very sad because one of my siblings, as a wedding gift, bought us an open bar. So, it's nothing like having an open bar and not getting material to enjoy it. The food was so good, though. The food was so good, but again, we didn't get to really enjoy it because we had to go around, say hi, say thank yous, all the appreciations and everything. And I had black lipstick, and so when things started to wind down, people started to leave, I gave everybody a big black kiss on the cheek because I love me my black lipstick. So it was a little parting gift, and everybody, and a lot of my friends were like, oh, that's so cute. And I'm like, thank you. I didn't intend on it. I just have black lipstick, and I like giving kisses to people, especially people who I care about, who came out on my special day. And yeah, that's how my wedding was almost a disaster. I probably also, and not to overexaggerate, I probably would have fainted because my dress was a corset dress. I know I'm a pretty big lady. I'm not going to say that I'm not, especially if you see the photos, but it was a corseted lace up back dress, and that thing was on there very tight, and I hadn't eaten since 4 a.m., and I'd only had small bits and pieces of sandwiches that my friends could finger feed me. And then we had finally gotten food, and then all the stress and the drama of the other things. So I'm genuinely amazed, especially with my bad luck, that I didn't pass out. But my wedding day was great, even with all the stress and the terrible stuff that happened to it. I loved it. I had a great time. And the second we were done at home, I chopped off all my hair, and me and my husband were so exhausted we fell asleep in our wedding clothes. So that's the story of how my wedding was almost a disaster. I feel like I already repeated that. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you liked the late night audio. And thank you as always to my amazing Patreon patrons. Without them, this seriously would not be possible. I love you so much. And as always, I will see you next time. Bye.